99.9% of companies spend all of their time and all of their energy and all of their money slaving over, and I use that term on purpose because they really like become slaves to the creative and obsess over the ad creative or the first touch point, the tweet, the tagline, the Facebook ad, the Google ad, and they allocate no time, no money, no resources to what happens after the click. And one of my friends recently said this on a podcast. He said, the click itself, the ad click itself, or the tweet click, or whatever that first interaction is click number one. But oftentimes on your website, that's click 2 through 10 or 2 through 4 if you're like B2B demo booking or booking a call or your marketing agency or whatever. And so it's wild how so many people obsess over the first interaction and then don't allocate any time, resources, money to what happens afterwards.
You are listening to Power Marketing with Kevin Lee. Kevin and his agency Did It have helped thousands of businesses win through superior marketing, as have his books, articles, speaking engagements, and the eMarketing Association Power Marketing podcasts. Here's Kevin.
I'm Kevin Lee with the eMarketing Association. Super excited to have Max on from Marketing Max. He and I both wear a lot of hats and run a lot of things simultaneously. I run a digital agency, own the eMarketing Association, own Truth Nutrition, run a nonprofit and an incubator. So I'm sure, Max, you're stretched just as thin, but perhaps in different directions. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me on. I'm definitely stretched thin, more so these days than ever before, because my wife is 8 months pregnant. So I'm trying to manage that and my businesses and make sure everything is in place so that I can take a few months off, or mostly off when the time comes with our first child. But yeah.
All right. Well, pre-congratulations on that. So let's jump right in. Everyone's looking for a silver bullet in marketing in general, digital marketing in particular. They're like, oh, if I just did this, that'd be it. I could crush it. I could, 10x my business. But sometimes it's not so simple. However, there are a lot of situations where people miss low-hanging fruit. So given how many businesses you've helped and how many marketing campaigns you've looked at, what are a few things that you think get missed more often than not as people are putting together their overall marketing strategies?
I'll give you a short-term one and a long-term one. All right. There's really two main ones in my mind. The first one is A/B testing your website or A/B testing the landing page that you're sending people to. 99.9% of companies spend all of their time and all of their energy and all of their money slaving over, and I use that term on purpose because they really become slaves to the creative and obsess over the ad creative or the first touch point, the tweet, the tagline, the Facebook ad, the Google ad, and they allocate no time, no money, no resources to what happens after the click. And one of my friends recently said this on a podcast. He said, the click itself, the ad click itself, or the tweet click, or whatever that first interaction is click number one. But oftentimes on your website, that's click 2 through 10 or 2 through 4 if you're like B2B demo booking or booking a call or your marketing agency or whatever. And so it's wild how so many people obsess over the first interaction and then don't allocate any time, resources, money to what happens afterwards. And it's not just what my friend said on this podcast that we recorded and on some of our calls together. I've been preaching landing page A/B testing for years. My favorite tool on planet Earth. A lot of the times on podcasts, people ask me, like, what's your favorite marketing tool of all? I always say it's Unbounce. Unbounce allows me to create 4 different variations or 10 different variations of a landing page, drive a bunch of traffic to a bunch of different variants at an equal weight, and then see which version of the landing page gets the most amount of people to convert. And I found that is by far and away the closest thing to a silver bullet for any company on planet Earth. Now, a lot of companies come to me and they say, hey, how do I get people over to the site? That's a whole other thing, right? Like driving traffic and then converting the traffic. Those are the two sides of digital marketing. And so there's no silver bullet to getting attention and getting people to the site. You can run ads. You can try to go viral on TikTok or Instagram. You can not even try to go viral, but just get some traffic that way. You could do some partnerships, ads in other newsletters, ads with influencers or partnerships, word of mouth, referrals, affiliates, whatever. But no matter what you have on that side of the marketing table in terms of getting people to hear about you, see about you, and click, show more interest, raising their hand, saying, yes, I'm interested, I'm clicking, I want more information. That is the closest thing to the silver bullet. So that is kind of the short-term silver bullet. And then the second thing is, I think, well, I'll pause there. I'm sorry, I'm rambling. Do you have any questions, or am I crazy?
No, I'll comment on things in order. So continue with your long-term low-hanging fruit answer.
So the long-term low-hanging fruit is that most companies that I meet with, and I've had more than 300 clients one-on-one in my career, and easily met with thousands and thousands of companies at conferences I speak at on Twitter, DMs, my 200,000 plus followers across all my social channels. Across most other companies that I meet with, 99% also, if they're not doing landing pages, they're not doing this other thing, which is actually just having a long-term marketing strategy. In fact, only 2% of your audience is in the market to buy today. That's a stat that's been done a long time ago, regardless of niche, regardless of product, service, how many years you've been in business. On average, only 2% of the market is waking up saying, you know what, I need this problem solved today, and I'm looking for a solution that you would sell, right? You the listener would sell to them. And so every single strategy I see, both clients that come to me, brands I meet at conferences, people that DM me on Twitter, I see every single person run ads or run cold email or do lead gen of any way, shape, or form via partnerships or anything, asking people to book a call today, just assuming that everyone is in the market, everyone falls in that 2% of the pie that's in the market to buy today. And they have no strategy, they have no game plan to build authority with the much bigger part of the pie, the 98% of the market that's ready to buy, right? That way, when they are in the market, when they do wake up, they say, hey, you know what? I finally am in the market to buy this. I finally am ready. And I've been subscribed to this company's newsletter for a long time, or I've been listening to this podcast for a long time. And they're not just trying to sell me and trying to get me to book a call or start a free trial or buy their water bottle or whatever it is today. Like, they've been genuinely proving themselves to me, showing that they have value, showing that, they know what they're talking about, showing that they're authorities in the space. And I'm finally ready to hire someone, or I'm finally ready to buy something that solves this problem for me. I'm going to go ahead and book a call with them today. So in summary, number one, lowest hanging fruit, A/B test the landing page. That's the shortest low hanging fruit silver bullet you could possibly have. And then the second thing is create a longer term marketing strategy that advertises, markets, help you build authority with everyone else who's not in the market to buy today. That way, when they are, they come to you first.
Absolutely. Great points, particularly on the A/B testing. It's sort of funny you mentioned that because, Did It started as a SaaS platform to manage paid search, right? And we just, unfortunately, we're in the same category as Marin Software, who's never had a profitable quarter, I don't think, ever. So we got out of that business, made 11 acquisitions to become a full service agency. But, one of the things that we ended up acquiring were 2 creative shops. And the reason we acquired creative shops is because we end up with these clients when we were just, managing paid search or paid social as a service. And people would be like, I can't hit my KPIs. We'd look at their landing page and we'd be like, well, no wonder you can't. I mean, this is just total garbage. And, sometimes that would result in us just doing some, orphan landing pages, using some platform or whatever we decided to do. And often it would just result in an entire redo of the entire web presence, right? So I'm absolutely on board with that because, if you spend all the energy in getting the person there, you got to fulfill the promise, right? You made a promise in the ad, you made a promise in the tweet, your influencer made a promise. And then if you can't fulfill the promise, like educating the person or doing whatever you were planning on doing, like you went through a whole lot of work for nothing. And so, I gave a presentation recently on a concept I called compound marketing, which is the idea that if you improve each of the touch points, right, all the way from out in the ad through to the landing pages, through to the conversion from lead to sale, through to LTV of the customer or AOV, whatever you want to optimize on long term, right? All that becomes leverage that lets you buy more expensive media. People don't get that, right? If you can't afford the media, fix your back end. And then you can afford the media again. So I'm absolutely on board with that. Another layer I'd add to your long-term strategy is, people are forgetting that, the Google SERP and the Bing SERP, they're starting to get augmented with people asking chatbot questions, right?
Mm.
And so a lot of the content they're creating, a lot of the SEO that they're doing, they're just thinking about getting themselves to rank. And they're not thinking about, well, wait a minute, what content's going to get ingested by all these LLMs, by these chatbots, so that if people don't bother to use a search engine, then they just ask a chatbot, what are the top 10 this, or which company should I look at that do that, or how to
Yeah.
solve this problem. You want to increase your odds of showing up there. And that's a digital PR strategy, and it's long term, right? It's going to take 6 months for the content you create now to even get ingested into the LLM. And then you got to actually start to convince the LLM that you should be in a result. Whether that's, a list of hotels in New York City that have rooftop pools, or, who's the best expert on LLMO, right? Large language model optimization. You got to plant those seeds now. So I agree with you that long-term focus and being top of mind at the time that the person finally decides, yeah, I got to solve this problem now is absolutely key. Uh, People have been preaching that email is dead for probably at least 10 years, right? As some kind of a permission touch point that you can have. But I know reading your stuff and having watched some of your earlier stuff that you're still a huge fan of establishing that permission relationship with folks so that you can continue to communicate with them and for when they're ready, right? And educate them, communicate with them, delight them, etc. So what other push notification channels in addition to email? I mean, should people keep doing email? And then what other forms of push should they add to an email, to a push campaign? Not just email, but maybe SMS or
Well,
browser-based push.
yeah, I think we're still far away from SMS being anywhere near the the share of marketing resources and allocation as email will be, whether it's B2B or B2C. It's definitely really punctured the e-commerce B2C market more. B2B, I just don't think that community's ready yet. They're not even ready for Facebook ads yet. Like 7, 8, 9 years later, they're not ready for good Facebook ads yet. So, SMS can work really well for e-commerce brands, but specifically for B2B companies, SaaS, agency services, B2B professional services, whatever, construction, local business. SMS might work, but it's still the lion's share of email, right? It's still really the lion's share of email for B2B. And beyond that, creating really good social content, being on LinkedIn daily, not just creating content, but not just posting, but commenting on other people's content. I have a lot of friends that will hire a LinkedIn ghostwriter, and they'll say, Max, you said I need to be on LinkedIn every day. And I hired a ghostwriter for $3,000 a month and I didn't get any leads or any followers. And I said, it's not just posting content. You can't just stand on the street corner and yell content. You need to walk up to people and have conversations where they're talking about things, and you need to have an open discussion, and you need to stay top of mind, and you need to get other people to comment and have a discussion with you. And it's a whole game that a lot of people don't want to play. That's why I so strongly recommend just do email. Just literally run Facebook or LinkedIn ads, collect their email, and send them an email every week. Like, that's so much simpler than logging onto LinkedIn for an hour a day, creating content, writing posts, like the whole 9 yards. But yeah, I don't think there's any other like push mechanisms other than email. Everything else is kind of like a hybrid between push and pull, which would be posting on LinkedIn, posting on Twitter, posting on Instagram, those kind of social channels. Partnerships is like a huge other side of it, particularly for B2B that we haven't touched on. But like, yeah, in terms of push and pull channels, it's really email for B2B and email / maybe 5-10% SMS for others.
Yeah, one thing that I'd love to get your thoughts on as it relates to email is, depending on the size of the list and what it is that marketer is selling, either B2B or B2C, you reach a certain point where it's not batch and blast anymore, right? There's different personas in your email lists, and you may either know where they are based on where they are in the decision-making cycle, or you may know where they are as to, which of your products or services may fit them best. And so then you have to start thinking about segmenting, right? And so you might be segmenting your email, and maybe you have permission in SMS. And of course, the bar for a SMS message is a lot higher. Like, you can bother a person in
Yeah.
email and they just delete it, but you bother a person in SMS, they're pissed, right? If you bothered them, right? So thinking through the choreography as you start to learn more about the people and where they are, or who they are, when do you decide like, okay, batch and blast, just one, email list is not going to do it for me. I got to start treating these people differently.
Well, for me and what I preach with my clients, because we actually run this as a service for a lot of B2B companies, it doesn't really matter how they got onto your list. You should be sending something of value to everyone every single week. So that is your main newsletter that you're sending to people that you've taken sales calls with or that signed up for your free trial that didn't convert every single week until they unsubscribe. People that took sales calls and converted but churned every single week until they unsubscribe. People who, people who opted into a lead magnet, send them a newsletter every single week until they unsubscribe. Like no matter how you've collected their emails, send them content every single week. Now, with some of our clients, we use this really amazing tool called B2B, b2b.com, where it actually can identify in the US, it's only available in the US, but it can identify the visitors of who's actually visiting your site via IP address and a bunch of other really complicated semi-gray area things. They're totally legal, but just maybe, ethically, unethically. So for the clients that do opt into that, we identify who's on their website, and then we add them to the weekly newsletter as well. But for a lot of our clients, they run more sophisticated sales operations. And so we can say, okay, this person from this company that you're talking to visited your website, but you don't have them in your CRM. Let's signal to the sales team that Susie from prospect number 632, right? Or lead, prospect 632 visited the site, and our sales guy, John, is talking to, Alex, but Susie from the same company visited the site. So maybe we can reach out to Alex and say, hey, do you know Susie? Or we can reach out to Susie and say, hey, we're already speaking to Alex. Notice you're in a similar team. Would you like a free demo? Or would you like to have a discussion about how we can help you do X, Y, Z? So like getting those signals via tools like our B2B is super valuable. And that's when we can create customized messaging. But going back to the silver bullet, like the lowest hanging fruit is just sending one email out to everyone, regardless of where they are in the customer journey, where they are in the cycle. And 99.9% of companies that I meet with don't have even that set up. So what are we doing here, guys? What are we doing?
Well, the de-anonymization tools and there's a bunch of them. Some of them are more accurate than others. Some of them have a greater percentage hit rate than others, but they are super valuable. And it is sort of fun to monitor them, right? When you do other form of outreach, and then you sort of see the person show up. I mean, when I've had sales teams in the past that used to sort of see their prospects where they left voicemail messages show up the next day on the website, right? And they'd be like, aha, there's an interesting signal we can use for something, right? I mean, it's really fun to tie those data pieces together. I mean, did it got into the direct mail business sort of in an odd route, but at the end of the pandemic, I was trying to figure out how to make direct mail more interesting because as a marketing mad scientist, it was too boring for me. So I got the production team to build a technology that puts a custom QR code on every piece of mail by marketer, right?
Awesome.
And so when the person scans the QR code in the hyper-personalized mail, it pings the CRM and tells the CRM, oh, Max had an interest in this. And then if your cat pukes and you run away or your baby's diaper needs to be changed, you leave and we still know that it was you, right? So it allows you to really augment the data and say, okay, this person's a Glengarry lead. Let's not forget that, right? This person had an interest, and it's really fun to take something as antiquated as direct mail, right, and add a technology layer to it, because it's almost the opposite of the de-anonymization, right? The de-anonymization takes an anonymous web visitor and turns them into a name, right? We take a direct mail where we know the person's name and turn them into what would have been an anonymous website visitor, but we knew who it was because it was a unique QR code. So it's really fun to play with the technology and do stuff like that.
Love that. Love that. I love something similar for our clients where like using the newsletter tools that we use, we can see who clicked on a link. So even if they clicked on it, didn't book a call, to your point, we can say, okay, this is a Glengarry, like this person's warm, this person's interested. Now we can create an automated drip sequence saying, hey, notice you were interested in this XYZ, what question, but didn't book a call. What questions do you have? All that kind of stuff. So I love that you were able to come up with some clever tech and use that on direct mail as well. I'm a big fan
Yeah,
of that.
yeah, it's been super fun. I'd love to get your thoughts on human capital and dollar capital are always scarce, right? So, with the explosion of LLMs and Claude and ChatGPT and people's refocusing on content again because content feeds the LLMs, they're trying to decide like, well, what content should I create? And some of them have said to me like, I'm in too boring of an industry. Like I can't, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to write about. So when they get that sort of organizational writer's block or whatever you want to call it, creative block, and they can't think about what do I talk about or who do we talk to or where do we get the content from? How do you advise them to sort of create that content that will delight their prospects?
Ask your clients or your prospects or your users or your customers what type of content they're enjoying seeing most right now. Number one. Very few people actually ask their customers, like, why did you buy the product and what other companies were you considering using us for? And what kind of content related to our product, are you enjoying consuming these days? Even if it's an influencer, go see what posts those influencer have that went the most viral that are related to your product or service. If you saw a marketing service, look at the Marketing Max. That's me, right? Look at Marketing Max's content. Figure out that. So like, first of all, ask your customers, number one. And then number two, little AI hack here. What we've started doing is uploading all of our sales calls to AI and having it, number one, coach us on how to get better. But number two, identify the questions that are the most asked and then give us idea topics for newsletter sends, for Twitter threads, for LinkedIn posts based on the questions that our clients have. Because if you can be the one answering the questions that prospects have, even if they are on a sales call with one of your competitors, they're thinking about these things and they have these questions regardless. So if you can help them answer it and you can answer it better or just differently or give a better analogy or something that hits harder home with them, then your content is 100% ROI positive. Even if you're not able to attribute it back to the sale, right? You're building that brand authority, you're building that affinity with the target customer. So those are the two ways I would say you can easily figure out how to jump that writer's block when it comes to creating B2B content. Number one, just asking your customers what kind of content related to your product they're enjoying most. And then number two, plugging your sales calls, even your own like internal meetings into ChatGPT and saying, what type of content do you think would do best on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on a newsletter format?
Yeah, that's absolutely great advice. One other thing I'd add to that is whoever is on the front lines of the organization, right? Whether it's the people actually doing the service or the customer service teams that get the phone calls about the problems, is nobody ever asks them what problems are people having with the service or the product or whatever, and addressing that has a double benefit, right? Because you can actually probably put the answers in an FAQ on your website and take the load off of the customer service team because it'll just show up in Google or in a site search. But you also can create the content that improves your SEO, so it's a real win-win there.
Love that.
So the other challenge folks have is the platform diversity, right? And they're like, okay, I'm creating this content. Can I use the same content on TikTok that I use on Insta? Do I really need a TikTok or do I not need a TikTok? And of course, now the future of TikTok in the States is a little bit of a question mark, but assuming that all the platforms that we're used to are still there, right? And folks are sort of making their content creation decisions. What strategic lens should they use to decide, not just what to create, but where to put it?
So step one is identifying where your target customers spend the most amount of time online. Now, a lot of people will come to me and they'll say, well, everyone spends all their time on Instagram. It'll be really hard, not impossible, but it'll be really hard to sell enterprise construction project management tools to, Fortune 1000 construction companies on Instagram, right? Possible, but really hard. If the majority of your target audience are spending their time, the majority of their time, so the majority of your audience is spending the majority of their time on LinkedIn when it comes to thinking remotely close to the product or service that you sell, you got to be on LinkedIn, right? If you sell a high ticket course to people about how to make money selling Airbnbs, those people are probably going to go on Instagram, right? If you sell marketing agency services, you're probably going to do some version of Twitter or X, so X and LinkedIn, right? That's where I focus most of my time on. So that's step one. Identify where the majority of your target perfect ideal clients are spending the majority of their time. Step two is to get really, really, really freaking good at that one platform. What a lot of people do is they try to spread themselves thin, as you said, as you started this question off by saying, budgets and time is super limited, right? What a lot of companies do is they half-ass LinkedIn and then they really half-ass a presence on Instagram and Twitter. You are 40 million times better off becoming the best at LinkedIn and going all in on that than being half-assed in everything. And so, if you know that the majority of your clients are on LinkedIn, go all in on LinkedIn. Hire a LinkedIn ghostwriter. Hire an agency to create lead magnets for you. Start a podcast, clip the content, format the clips of the podcast for LinkedIn. Make sure the aspect ratio is perfect. Look at what pictures, what taglines, what style of the captions of the video are doing really well on LinkedIn. Put those pictures and taglines and captions on your video. Make it stand out a little bit with a different color that's logo that's on brand for you guys. That's step two, is getting really, really, really freaking good at that one platform and going all in and saying, like, how can we really own this, right? How can we really be like, oh yeah, those are the guys that are absolutely crushing LinkedIn right now. Those are that's the team that is posting really good content every week on LinkedIn. Like, that is so much more valuable than being half-assed on every platform, because you think, well, some of our clients are on Twitter, and some of our clients are on Instagram, and some of our clients are on Rumble or I don't know, whatever crazy platform, Snapchat, whatever crazy platforms are out there.
Yeah, you reminded me of another fun strategy, which is, of course, with custom audiences, you can make people think that are in your custom audience that you are absolutely dominating, right? But the reality is you're just dominating across your custom audience of the people that you really want to hit, right? You'll get some organic reach elsewhere, and maybe you'll also have a second, less targeted paid ad campaign. But if you know exactly who your ICP is, you want them to see your stuff, you can arrange that. The social media engines are more than happy to arrange that your content can be seen by a subset of the customers, right?
100%.
So people forget that custom audiences are so powerful.
Custom audiences and the creative itself can sometimes do the targeting. To your point, the algorithms are so sophisticated, right? If you upload a custom audience, and if you, let's say you do it to Facebook, right? The minimum lookalike audience can be 2.4 million people. Well, maybe you sell an enterprise software. Maybe you just have a niche audience to whoever, and there's a lot less than 2.4 million people who will see that. To take that a step further, if the start of your video ad or the start of your static ad says calling all construction workers, right? And those are the only people that click on it, even though you're trying to create a lookalike audience of construction companies or whatever, right? The creative will do the targeting because the algorithm will realize that the only people who are clicking on this ad are construction people. So we need to share our ad to more of the construction people within that 2.4 million that we found. So yeah, I love that point, Kevin. The algorithms are so sophisticated. Like, use them for use them for creative, use them for testing, use them for everything.
So a lot of folks in the agency community are scared of the algorithms as it relates to AI replacing humans, right? And certainly it's become an amazing tool in both of our tool chests. But yeah. I know I'm not particularly worried. I don't know what your point of view is on that.
I'm not worried about it at all. I think if anything, it'll make all of our jobs a lot easier and a lot more effective. And it'll really weed out the crappy marketers from the good marketers, right? Like, AI is allowing marketers to be even more, AI is allowing marketers to be even more lazy than they were before. And, I miss the days of Mad Men. I miss the days where people actually cared about building brand and finding one really good tagline that can scale a business to the moon, and jingles. And I just really miss all of those really great elements that the marketing and advertising community and industry had in the 60s and 70s and 80s. And then, suddenly Facebook comes out with the Facebook Pixel and we can track attribution 100%. And now everyone only cares about ROI and performance and leads and ROI on today's payback period.
At last touch, yeah.
Yeah, we've lost touch. And that's not to say like I'm not a fan of that. Like I started my career on Wall Street, and part of the reason I think I'm a halfway decent marketer, I'm certainly not the world's best, but halfway decent marketer, is because I have both a right brain and a left brain approach towards it. I think analytically, I think in ROIs, but I also think on the creative level. And they were thinking about that, both the right brain and the left brain, back in the days of Mad Men too. You know, they'd run ads, they'd run commercials and multiple TV shows with a phone number and see which one got the most amount of people to call in to buy whatever it was that they were selling. But I think just like marketers just got really, really, really lazy. And now AI allows marketers to be even more lazy. And so to answer your question, am I worried about it? No, because it'll allow the good marketers to rise to the top even more. And it'll make the really good marketers even smarter and even more effective, because they'll use AI not for the lazy stuff of just writing a tagline, but they'll use AI for things that kind of the rookie mid-level marketers who are the lazy marketers are not even capable of understanding or capable of seeing.
Yeah, that really makes me think about the fact that both from a paid media and earned media perspective and the social media algorithms perspective, so many of them are driven off of this concept of a meritocracy, right? You either rise to the top or you drop to the bottom, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's true at the micro level in a specific ad against a specific audience, but it also percolates into, the strong surviving at the business level, right? The businesses that execute well, they're going to be able to afford the ads, they're going to be able to crush it, and the ones who don't are going to slowly become irrelevant.
For
And
sure.
it's really survival of the fittest and a meritocracy in a way that it was really never before. You could get away with being mediocre in the past. It's harder and harder to get away with that.
Couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. Now it's just going to be even harder to get away with that lazy level marketing, because AI. It's like a lot of people are like, oh, open up ChatGPT and have it write a really good blog article to have you rank for a keyword. That's what like a rookie basic level marketer might do and might say. But a sophisticated marketer who's good, who cares about the Mad Men era and all those things that we just talked about, they're going to do their homework separately from ChatGPT to identify the right keywords to then give to ChatGPT. And then they're going to upload a file to ChatGPT saying, hey, write it in this style, write it in this layout, right? Like it's not just about having AI do level one. It's about how can you leverage AI to do the things that already separate in the meritocracy the really good marketers from the really shitty marketers.
Right, absolutely. Well, finally, what else should we have discussed today that we haven't, do you think?
I don't know. I am always happy to chat about marketing and always happy to chat about growth, and I'm just really passionate about finding that kind of perfect balance between marketing to the 2% of the audience that is in the market to buy today, and then building brand authority and brand affinity with everyone else in the market. So other silver bullets, I think, collect as many emails as you possibly can, send as many emails as you possibly can with value, A/B test the living daylights out of your landing pages, even on the email sign up to everything else. And then I don't know, what's like a fun ending growth hack or silver bullet. I mean, I guess we can rehash on yours, which is making sure that the messaging stays the same from the ad to the landing page to the postcard that you mail people. Like I think people really just miss that. And again, I think Mad Men era, they got it so right. The customer journey and understanding how the pictures and the colors and the fonts from the first touch point to the last touch point all go in cohesiveness together. So understanding the customer journey, I guess, is something we could have talked about a little bit more, but yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point in as far as consistency of messaging across platform, because so many CMOs and VPs of marketing, they're using multiple agencies. They've the cubicle for the people running direct mail is not even in the same building as the cubicle of the person running digital, right? So they don't talk to each other. There's sort of nobody tying everything together on a unified level. And I think the C-suite should take a deep breath, right, and think about that, and perhaps just try to decide, okay, well, who's going to own this, right? Because somebody needs to own this. Maybe it should be the CMO, but the CMO's too busy going to the Cannes Lions event each year.
Yes, all of that is 100% real and modern, and like that's what's happening right now today in too many organizations. When in reality, we should be thinking a little bit more about the customer journey and doing the things that no one wants to do. Everyone wants to come up with the flashiest, sexiest headline, tagline, and think that's what's going to get people to buy. But it's that plus 400 other things that need to all work in concert together to make a beautiful symphony, as cheesy as that may sound, for people to buy your product. And that's just the reality of marketing in 2025.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for sharing your wisdom with us, Max.
Thanks for having me, Kevin. I appreciate you.
Kevin Lee's Power Marketing is available on all your favorite podcast networks. Kevin loves helping businesses excel at marketing. Having marketing challenges? Just like Santa in The Miracle on 34th Street, if Kevin can't help you, he'll know someone who can. Find him on LinkedIn, subscribe, or follow.